Hello, you're watching Gadget Nation Special with me, Cherish Leow. It is my interest to connect the dots and look at the missing links in our quest to build up a technology startup ecosystem here in Malaysia. And so last year, in August 2012, I decided that I want to produce a half-an-hour production where I documented some of the voices of those that are or have been actively participating in building up the technology startup ecosystem in the Klang Valley area. And just recently, I went on to Singapore and met up with some startup personalities and mentors based out in Singapore. In this two-part series of special program that I'm producing this time around, this first part, we are going to listen to some of the stories shared by the startup personalities based in Singapore, and hopefully you will get inspired.
The idea of creation is just always very powerful attraction. I mean, for a lot of us entrepreneurs, right? It's the idea of making that difference, that small chance of making a difference, and that's how it started from the beginning. And only recently, I spent 2 years as a management consultant in this country, and only in the recent 1 year I've been coming out full-time and working on the startup One Cent movement. I don't like describing it as a process or the journey, but in its core essence, like I was just telling my teammates the other day, I mean, we have to set a time, we have to set some sort of timeline, some sort of deadline when we say, hey, enough is enough, we have tried, we have done all these things that we can do. But I like to borrow from Paul Graham, he's a famous guy, I mean, he's the founder of Y Combinator, and he always says, if you want to learn all about a company, in 2 years you join a startup. So within 2 years you learn all about this company, about hiring, about working with people, about coming up with ideas, about small iterations along the way, right? Or big iterations along the way. When you say, hey, this is not working, let's pivot to something else. And answering the question, success or failure would probably be that tenacity or that passion that keeps the entrepreneur fired, continuous learning, the whole process of continuous learning, and saying no to failure and trying hard and harder each time. Yeah. So I guess that's how I would define it. That's how I would define success. Failure would be someone burning out within the first 3 months, saying this is crap, right? Forming a team is hard, finding an office space is tough, bootstrapping is tough, I don't have enough money to hire a team, I can't engage my I can't find a product market fit and things like this. So along the line, that's probably failure for me, yeah. I dare say, or we probably have a very different way in terms of running things here in One Cent movement. We try to adopt a flat hierarchy, so people are allowed to start these things, what we call projects within the company. So failure is allowed, failure is in fact encouraged. You have a lot of autonomy to do what you want to do or what you believe is right. And we believe in asking for forgiveness over asking for permission. So when people have that motivation, when people have that flexibility to do what they believe in, I feel that's a very powerful motivation. And the passion drives it, and new innovations come up from there, yeah. That's how we try to motivate our teammates and one another basically in the company. Move fast and break things. I mean, the most important thing is doing, you know, end of the day. I mean, as a management consultant, you kind of hypothesis that you're testing, you're validating all the time or invalidating all the time. And it's very often, as a startup founder, you take in all these different advice from founders and VCs alike, right? End of the day, the decision is still yours, and the most important thing to achieve success or failure quickly is to move fast and break things.
Yeah, I mean, I had some really good mentors. One of them was Boris Nordenstrom. and he started one of the first recruitment companies, online companies in Europe. And during the first part of the boot camp with JFDI, it's a 100 days boot camp. Within the first 2 weeks, we weren't sure if we were on the right track, and he said, "Don't pivot." You know, because everyone was talking about pivot, pivot, pivot. He said, "Don't pivot. You've got a great core idea. Just look at the mechanics on how you deliver that, and make sure you go back to your numbers and let that show you where you should be going. Ask the right questions. Don't just jump straight into the solution." I think a year ago when I visited Block 71, it was just this one space, Innovate, that was there, and people were coming in and out. I was wondering, what's the space all about? And there were a lot of spaces available, but in the months that's happened, it's just that many entrepreneurs have come in, the energy has grown, and I think in the last 12 months, the culture here has been amazing. People, you bump into people in the lift and they're saying, "Hey, how's your traction?" And by the time you hit third floor, right, you're going out and then you bump into someone else, you know. And investors that we were meeting that were outside of Block 71, I'm surprised. Today I'm seeing them, a bunch of them here in Block 71. So if you're looking for first round and second round funding, investors are coming here, right? The energy of entrepreneurs are here as well. So I love it. KL has still got a really good culture in terms of development, but in terms of business and traction and certain things like that, it's good to mix up Singapore and KL. I think one of it is the fact that a lot of people here speak English, you know. So, you know what you're going to get when you come to places like Singapore, KL, Indonesia, and all those things. You also get a very good technical force as well that's here. You get also a very good artistic and creative bunch of people that's here. So, and the other thing when I was speaking to people that were coming down from Amsterdam and all that, US and Europe and all that, there's a growing sense of feeling that there's a sort of a recession happening over there, and they felt that the next boom that's coming out, there's a very good positive energy which you need that was coming out of Southeast Asia. And you see a lot of them here to add to that energy. So I think we should tap into that.
Personally, I like being in a foreign country because I am the minority. So every day I have to fight, I have to adapt to do something. So the mentors and advisors in Singapore have been really good. I mean, we were part of the JFDI incubation, so that was really, really helpful for us. Just really made sure that we're focusing all the time. Outside of the incubator and outside of the entrepreneurship group that we're within, it's still early days. There's still a lot to do, a lot of growth required, but it's really good. We found it really useful. Really easy to start a company here. Quick, took a couple of days, really easy for foreigners to start here, which we found really good. But as a whole, yeah, really good, really fast, and a lot of excitement, a lot of encouragement, and a lot of advice and mentors. So I plan to change the world. I don't expect to change the world with this startup. For me at least, this first one is to get some money in my back pocket to really target some bigger, more important problems, and I figure that this is a pretty substantial opportunity we're currently working on, but there's a lot more important things than software companies that I intend to work on in the future. Yes, so at the moment, a lot of our customers do come from New Zealand, Australia, and America. We've talked with and we do work with some younger companies in Singapore. As a whole, we've found some of the older businesses a little bit less eager to adopt new products. When it's young, say sub 40-year-old technologically savvy Singaporeans, they're quick. They're aware of new solutions. They're used to having iPhones and iPads. They want really good software to run their businesses. But the older generations, we have found it quite hard to break into that market with our product. So the one thing that I've really have to make sure I remember every single day is focus, and making sure I do it today. It's very easy to read books about it, talk about it, make plans, dream about it. It's a lot harder to actually just do it, as JFDI stands for, as just doing it. Yeah. That's the biggest thing, every day making sure you get stuff done. The startup community as a whole can be quite noisy, and so we have to be very careful that we don't go to every event and talk to every person, because if we've worked out that our customers want what we want, what we're giving them, then we should just focus on that. And you're right, we get advice from 10 different mentors saying 10 completely different things. End of the day, we take the advice and then we go talk to customers, and we do what our customers say. That's the most important thing. It's too easy to get distracted otherwise.
Okay, I'm from technical background, so you don't have any freedom to choose what you want to use, or even if you want to experiment new technology, which probably solves the problem in a much easier way, and the performance will be very high, but still you cannot experiment it because it's a big corporate. But in case of startup, whatever the thing that you're going to do, like even if you're introducing new technology, if it's going to improve the performance, then everybody will be supporting you, so you can try out new things. Of course, your knowledge will be improving, as well as whatever you're going to do, it affects the business directly, so you can feel the ownership of the company. Okay, it's a very good question, because whenever you see a new technology, you'll get excited and you want to try it out. But it may not be needed for your company at this current stage. Even in our case, like we were using PHP framework, which probably, but I'm quite excited about the new things that we can try out. But we need to see whether all other people can they learn very fast, or because I have worked on those technologies already. So for me to pick up that language is very easy, but for others it may not be. So you need to choose which is more feasible for all the team members. Otherwise, you do something, if they cannot understand, probably they'll screw up the code. So you need to choose which is more common for everybody. That helps, because otherwise it's like only one person will be doing it, like one-man show. It shouldn't be the case in a startup. Like everybody should do something. So yeah. So you shouldn't be excited about something new technology, and if everybody is excited, then it's good. But if you're the only person, it's better to check all the other person's interests and then try out a new thing.
I don't know the answer, but if you're not believing in your idea, no one else will. So you have no choice. And you still get a lot of people still supporting you. That might be why Singapore is a great entrepreneurial scene, because even if people are not working on your idea, if they don't know if your idea is good, they are still pushing you to try. It's a mentality that I didn't see in other places in the world so far, at least the one I have been. People were more like, get a job, do something else. And when I arrived in Singapore, I met all these people like, I'm doing this project, your idea seems awesome, try it. Even if people don't support you exactly in your idea, they support you to try. Personally, I like being in a foreign country because I am the minority. So every day I have to fight, I have to adapt to do something. So every day I have to make sure I'm learning, I'm developing, I'm doing my best. If you're in your own country, it's too easy to take it for granted and not to move your ass enough. For us, we started on the web for a very simple reason. So Flocation is this map of travel opportunities. And to show a map and to allow interaction on a map, web browser is better because it's bigger. Mobile phone is too small. It could work on tablet. It's just for historical reason we started on the web. So based on your product, how will your product be used? What are the functionalities that you need in your product? Choose the platform that you need. And based on your market, you might also need Android, iPhone, or whatever. So focusing on your users again.
So the idea is that small change can be turned into a big difference. I came across a story of a banker within Europe who worked in a bank, and he got a little bit sneaky and he decided to skim 1 cent of every single transaction that happened within his bank. Get all those 1 cents, put it into his own bank account, and then run away. He ran away with a lot of money and it caused a lot of problems. But after hearing that, and after seeing that we live in a world whereby there are issues that need help instead of trying to solve. It got me thinking of the power of everybody coming together to try and solve those issues, which is where the idea of 1 cent movement was born. So we want to turn every transaction into an opportunity to give to charity. So just imagine that each time when somebody buys something, they add at least 1 cent to the total purchase price. Those cents from you, from me, from somebody else are all collected and brought together, and then everything is given to a charitable cause. So the idea is that small change can be turned into a big difference. I believe that everybody can create an impact. To say one impact is bigger or better than another is quite hard to do, but I think that we can all wake up and do things and leave our mark on the world in such a way that it becomes a better place. And I think we need to, and even if we fail in doing so, in trying, we should still try, because I think that's how progress is made. I probably wouldn't define success in terms of failure. To me, I don't think we ever really fail at anything. Like, we just learn from things, and some things we do in a way at the time which could be better, and so next time we try and do things a little bit differently, a little bit better. Success to me ultimately comes down to listening to yourself and understanding yourself, and weaving your passions and your values in the path that you're sort of walking. It's not necessarily about money, it's not necessarily about those tangible things, but I think it's just about finding that meaning that makes you kind of tick in a way. We can think and strategize about how to do things and whether or not we should do things, but until you actually go out and do them, you sort of start to realize what is possible, what is not possible, how you need to change things. So for me, the one thing would be just to go and do.
We haven't managed to overcome that actually. You know, the approach that we have taken so far is really to ignore the risk adverse culture over here, and keep doing what we are really good at. But I think as a startup, it's really important to have a product market fit, and this is what we at Game Times has been doing. So, for example, you know, we are a gamification startup, and you know, I think out of every 10 Singaporeans, probably only 1 or 2 if you're lucky, even heard of the word gamification. But what we really do is we use game designs in non-gaming contexts to solve real-world problems. And a lot of times we talk to brands, we talk to companies. About 1 or 2 years back, you know, when we started this whole concept, people were afraid, people were frightened, they were terrified by the idea. But you know, we have been looking at the trends very closely at US and around the world, and we know that this will eventually pick up. So I wouldn't say that we managed to overcome, but more like ignoring them till the time was right. Yeah, so it really depends on which bigger players are talking about. So let's use this example of a company called B, right? They are one of the biggest gamification authority. In fact, I would call them the Ferrari of gamification. And in fact, I was just hanging out with them a few days ago, and I would say our differentiation really is the fact that we are in Asia, and this is a growing market. But the fact is, you know, I'm Asian. I'm able to speak, you know, 2 languages: Chinese, Mandarin, and English. And you know, I have teammates who can speak Indonesian, Bahasa Indonesian. So I would say the language factor and localized factor is a big advantage on its own. And on the other side, we want to be able to be a lot simpler. So those guys, they're a Ferrari. We are like, I would call myself maybe the Kia, right? A lot more affordable, right? Targeting a different set of market. So that's our positioning so far. I think it is the passion and the will to create something valuable and to be useful at all. It can't be for money. You know, you should just stay in the financial industry if it's for the money. I graduated with a business degree and an information degree as well. I major in finance, so if I want to be rich, this is not the place to be at. So I really think it is, and I would say that it's the same for all my teammates. It's the hunger to really leave a legacy behind. You know, so that when people go to your funeral and wake, they will say, well, Keith brought gamification to this part of the world, and Keith has really made my life a lot more fun and interesting, right? I salute you, Keith. Rest in peace. I have to quote Mr. Eddie Chow from Pentology. So when I was going through a very tough period, you know, when the investor defaulted on his payment, he only has a few words for me, but these few words are really, they're really stuck in my mind for a really long time. So those few words were, survive first, fight later. So, you know, don't bother trying to fight when you have no more strength. So the key goal is to make sure that you can find a way to stay afloat, right? And once you continue to stay afloat, you build up the energy, it takes time, right? Even for everything else, it takes time. You know, there's no secret recipe to overnight success.
Everything we do is justified. So as long as you're justified and you've done your research into what you're doing, then no one can really shut you down, because you should be confident enough that you are down the right track, because you have customers, you have people saying, I want this now. It's funny because I think there's 2 different types of people, especially in the startup community. There's talkers and doers. The talkers are the people that go to every event, they just talk about this great idea that they're doing, and they've talked to 2 friends about it, and they've done no real research into what they've done or whatever. They're not doing it, they're talking about it a lot. And then you've got other people who are actually out there doing it, quietly building, you know. I met a guy the other day, he's got a $5 million business, and I was having lunch with him. He wouldn't want to talk about what he's doing. So, but he's done it, and he's done it really, really well. There's doers and talkers. I think you need a mixture of, you need at least 1 talker on your team, but there seems to be a lot of talkers in the industry. If I wasn't doing this, I think that, first of all, TradeGecko is a great platform, I think, for me. And probably like most startup guys, I can probably vouch for Brad and Cameron as well, that the next few businesses we run are going to probably be a little bit more helping the wider community in some way. It's going to be improving humanity eventually. You know, like, we want to do something big and grand and something that's going to change every human. My advice to younger entrepreneurs would be just get out and do it. Come up with some ideas. And I've had plenty of friends come to me and say that they're doing this, that and the other, and they've got their logos done and things. Before you start any logo, before you start any design work, anything like that, you take your idea, you write down some questions, and you go talk to people you don't know. And then you'll see some trends coming through those answers, and then you'll see what they really want and what problems you're really solving for them.